unless he's Superman. Jeb used to watch Super Friends on Saturdays, and he always thought a good double barrel in the chest would stop the Wonder Twins, and maybe Aquaman, because he was such a pussy and talked to fish. But Superman could do anything. Superman was made of pure steel. Into a straightaway, the car surged again, the speedometer ticking up past 80 and still climbing as the tires scrambled for purchase. The dash lights were green and pulsed slowly as the alternator struggled along under the hood. Jeb's face seemed to pulse like a bullfrog's throat. He smelled burning oil and hot rubber, watching the road with one hand gripping the wheel, the other piloting the stereo controls. The oldie station was playing one of his favorites by the Thunder Five. "Good doctor, man, can you lend me a hand? There's a feeling I get and I don't understand. Got a fever burning in my brain. Good doctor, man, afraid I'm going insane." The song suited his mood just fine. What was it like to go crazy anyway? Was it like old Annie Arsenault out at the swap shop, who sometimes forgot her own name and wandered around outside buck naked? Crazy old witch sometimes made it all the way down Route 27 to town before anyone saw her. Jeb's Grandma Ruth used to find her sitting on a bench outside the railway cafe, wearing nothing but a straw hat. And when she tried to get her in the car, old Annie Arsenault would tell her to go to hell. Maybe, he thought, your daddy could have told you something about crazy, but it's too late for that now. Jeb took the next corner a little too fast, and fat tires squealed on tar as the big car swung sideways into the wrong lane. He wondered for a moment as he twisted the wheel and pumped the brakes if he was going to make it. Then the car righted itself, and he was left wondering whether he was actually trying to kill himself, or whether he was just plain stupid. He drummed his fingers nervously on the steering wheel in time with the music. It was nerves, that was all. He had to be honest with himself. Tonight of all nights, he was dreading what was ahead, what was waiting for him at the prison. Not for what his father could do to him physically, of course. It was way too late for that. Ronnie Taylor had died in his cell the night before from some kind of heart failure, and was already rotting away on a cold slab in the morgue. No. Jeb was afraid of what other old memories might come floating to the surface. He hadn't even seen his father in 10 years, never mind heard his voice. The sound of that voice wouldn't ever be able to touch him again, but he would surely see Ronnie Taylor in his dreams. Thomaston State Prison was located just outside the town of Rockland, on a straight, dull stretch of Route 1. It looked like a factory building, and you might think it was somebody's place of business, except for the high fences and razor wire. Jeb parked and went around to the visitor's entrance, where he was met by a fat guard with a black mustache and a stain on his blue prison shirt that looked like mustard. The guard's face was greasy and his collar ringed with sweat. "About goddamn time," the fat guard said. His beady eyes blinked through pockets of fat. Jeb could see bits of white that clung to the hairs of the guard's mustache, remnants of his last meal. "Taylor, ain't it? What took you so long?" "Sorry," Jeb muttered. He tried but could not meet the guard's stare. This was what he hated the most about himself. When it came time to stand up to people, to show them who was boss, he just couldn't do it. People took one look at him and assumed control like this guard was doing already. "Fucking fat bastard. I ought to show you a thing or two." But he didn't say anything, just followed numbly along as the guard led him through a maze of corridors and barred doors. The doors rolled and clanged shut heavily behind them, sounding like distant thunder. They saw no one, but now and again noises floated down from the prison cells that sounded more animal than human. The corridors were thick with the smell of hot male sweat. Jeb couldn't help thinking that this was where his father had spent the last 10 years of his life, caged up like something less than a man, something to be feared. But that was part of what his father had wanted after all. And wasn't that just a little of what he wanted too? For people to take a step back when they saw him, for the other person to look away first? At a desk, they met a second guard propped up next to a wall of television screens, his feet on the counter, hands locked behind his head. This guard was short and completely bald, his head so shiny and smooth.